Hello and welcome to Bendy, a podcast about being flexible and all of the ways that means. Thanks for joining us. My name is Andy Young, and I'm one of your terrifying, haunting hosts. Joining me, as always, is our other terrifying and haunting host, Beth Martin. Beth, the pleasure as always. What's the crack?
What's the crack? It's funny that my crack is explosive vomit and we're talking about horror today.
It's true. Very on topic, actually. That's true.
Yes, yes. So I'm dealing
Timely.
with sick children. One has a throat issue, the other one is a vomit issue. And it's like I feel like in a family there's usually one kid that's barfy. And like
Interesting.
I was the barfy child
Mm-hmm.
for sure. Like if I get sick, it's like Mike's puked once, I think, since I've known
Wow.
him.
Good
And
for
I'm like,
him.
I know. And I sneeze too hard and I vomit. Like,
Yeah. I
so my youngest has he just gets like anytime he gets sick, he throws up basically. He gets a fever and he's just like,
wow.
yeah, it's
Has he
gross.
grown
He's so nice
accustomed to
about
it?
it
Yeah, I
though.
was gonna say.
Yeah. It's not like the first time I think it's always like, and I know other like some people are terrified of vomiting and it's
Yeah.
like a last resort kind of thing, or they just like can't.
Yeah.
I have a friend who like can't vomit,
Ugh,
but yeah, it's like he's really gracious about it. And like
good for
he's
him.
always like, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm like, it's not your fault,
This is the thing.
But the first time it happened, like he cried and he was like, what's happening?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, it's like scary.
I
So
suppose because it's like a purge, right? And there's value to
so sorry,
that.
everyone. Yeah, I'm like, let's start your day with barf.
But I'd be like, come on, we're like going to be talking about all sorts of gross stuff in this episode, so it's just setting them up. It's
Yes,
it's easing them into it. Do you know what I
it's
mean?
true. It's true. So yeah, that's
Uh,
that's what's
that's
that's what's happening with me basically.
it's crack with you
Just
is sick children.
mm, mhm.
Um. So yeah, I
It's
had.
a vibe.
It is very much as a vibe.
I
Having
hate
sick
that
kids,
term.
yeah, a
I
vibe
hate
that
it.
I would not wish on anyone. And
Mm-mm.
because I think, yeah, I have other friends who definitely have similar issues. I think you're right. There definitely so does seem to be one kid who gets sicker. I get as you were saying, I was trying to think about me as a kid. I think my
Yeah,
sister was probably more. She would have been sick more often than I would have been, but I don't think. Certainly I would have, in our family, the problem is that we all have sensitive I always forget the name of the things on your face. Where
freckles,
no, inside
capillaries.
your cavity, the cavities where all the mucus is stored. Why am I
Oh,
fucking name? Thank you,
sinuses.
sinuses.
You're welcome.
So all of us have brutal like sinus problems. So that's the thing that plagued
Okay.
us. So like it's so we always had a packet or like a box of tissues in the house because all of us had runny noses all the time. And like whenever particularly bad, hay fever or cold things, like our sinuses would really flare up and it was very painful.
Can I tell you something really embarrassing?
Before it.
Have I ever told you about the snot chair?
No.
So when I lived in Kentucky, like I always had a runny nose.
Uh-huh.
And like as a kid, it was so runny all the time. I think they were like I had allergies. I was allergic to
Yeah.
something and I was always sick. So I got like my nose was always like chafed and like
Oh, it's rough.
bloody and just like right. So we were in a tear down house. They were gonna tear it down, and my mom was just like, "I'm just not gonna clean it then, because they're gonna
Yeah.
build another house." We were living on this like tiny college campus, and there was a like kind of like a velvety chair that was sitting on the front porch
Hmm.
because it was Kentucky, like next to the washer and dryer. And I like one day I was probably like 4 or 5 years old and was like, that looks so comfortable for my poor fucking nose. And I wiped my nose on
Oh,
the chair and I was like, this is it. And I continued to do
wow.
this for probably like 6 months.
Quite interesting.
So like both sides of this chair had like snot like
Oh,
on the arm handles and no one else could sit in it except for me.
what a gift to your nose though. Just a velvet tissue, a giant velvet tissue.
Isn't that disgusting?
It is. But I can understand why, because I
Yeah,
remember having like a nose that was like red raw from like blowing it so much, and it's
totally.
not fun.
You
Yeah,
needed a snot chair,
you do,
apparently.
right? It's very
Yeah,
what reasonable person could deny you a snot share, right?
not my parents.
Yeah, well, no, exactly not. Um, okay, so what's it's the crack with
What's,
me is
yes.
since last we spoke, I have seen Long Legs, which is on topic for our topic today. Have you heard of
I
Long
don't know
Legs?
what that is.
Okay,
No.
a
I'm
recent
just looking
horror
at my mind
film.
garden.
So it's a recent horror film, and it's got a lot of horror sort of bona fides kind of connected to it.
Ooh.
So it is by director and I think writer Osgood Perkins, who is Anthony Perkins' son.
Oh.
Right? So you got that
Poor
psycho
Anthony
connection. I
Perkins.
know. He seemed
Ugh,
like a nice
such
man.
a good actor. Such a nice man. Should have gotten more roles. Yes.
Agreed.
But it's
Um,
like when you're the guy from Psycho.
yeah, I think that there was less opportunity. You got it's maybe unfair, but I feel like maybe people got more pigeonholed back then, especially by something on that scale, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, so the I want to see it, and it also has so Nicolas Cage is the big
The
bad.
best. Like, what is happening?
He
He
makes
was
like
going through such a rough period, and then all of a sudden, like all of it, what's the one with Pedro
Pascal. Oh yeah,
Pascal
I know
doing
exactly the movie you mean, but I can't think the name of it.
it's so
I've
good.
heard it's
It's so
great.
good. It's so you haven't seen it,
No,
you must see it.
yeah, the unbearable weight of massive talent.
Yeah, it's like right up your alley.
Yeah, I had
If you like
wanted to
Nick
see it.
Cage.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Yeah.
what? Okay, okay.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I had wanted to
Because it
see it.
highlights his whole like I'm
It's
not going to give
bullshit.
too much away, but it's like this guy hires him because he's like a huge fan
Uh-huh.
to the point where he's got like a whole like hidden room in his house that has like all of the props from all of his movies that they actually
Nice.
use because they need them because like shit goes down. It's
Okay.
great. It's great.
Yeah, I had wanted to, and like I could be like that guy at the minute. Well, I mean, it's maybe always the case. Has like six, seven movies out a year. It's crazy. Like he's in so
Yes.
much. So I
Well, he's
suppose
got
like,
like lots of child support to pay,
well,
so.
that's true. Um, but he's
I
kind
mean,
of
he
like,
said that. That's not me
oh,
being an
really?
asshole.
Wow.
Yeah, he's like, I have a lot of child support to pay.
Um, but he's the kind of the big bad in this. He's not really the focal
Cool.
point of it, and it's Micah Monroe who was in a horror movie that I really enjoyed. I think it follows, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And like it's really getting loads of hype and it's getting like, high scores from critics across the board, but I found it a wee bit disappointing. I thought that the tone and everything was fantastic and the setup was really great, but I don't think it delivered in the way it all kind of wrapped up. I felt like it telegraphed where it was going too much, in my opinion, and I thought some of the dialogue was crap, but it was still interesting, and I still think visually, it was a really kind of like it was just such, it was so underlit and really kind of like lots of like sickly sort of tones like greens and yellows and things like that, and like and it was really good in that way. It just didn't really
Mm-hmm.
kind of. It's really good visuals. There's a visual of like a I don't want to talk about I want to talk about it in vague detail. I guess a figure with like a kind of black veil over it and these like glowing yellow eyes that just slowly get brighter. That's really quite effective, but it's just I don't know. I just wanted more from it, but it was still very interesting, I must say. And again, apparently everybody else likes it, so what do I know? Um, so yeah, I've enjoyed that. I also went to see Twisters, which I friggin'
Oh,
loved.
okay. I love Twister. Loved it. So
Check it out. It's like
okay.
it's doesn't do anything spectacular, but it is a really well made action movie, and it's it's and the people have said maybe why it's doing well is that it stands alone. Although yes, it is a sequel, but it is very much its own thing, and it's a story that it's a movie that tells a complete story. It doesn't rely on you know I don't know, the lore from like a Marvel movie or like a John Wick movie or Fast and Furious or
Right.
whatever. And
Right.
it's great because of that. So I really like that a lot. Um, and yeah, I think so. The other thing was, and it's kind of a reluctant Andy's down with the streets. I feel like this
Okay.
is a duty based one more than anything. Because
A
very
what
much
based?
a duty. Hold on a minute.
Duty
Duty,
based?
duty,
Duty based.
duty. Yeah,
Duty.
duty. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
Like in Caddyshack.
Yeah,
Duty,
exactly. Yeah,
duty.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. That's why it's so funny. That's what things are so funny for us because we say those words so differently. Um, so I always feel like I am bound to do this. I need to talk about it, but it's so mainstream now, and the Andy's down with the street term for this episode is cook. So you're familiar with the modern use of the word cook, as in let my man cook? No?
No.
Okay, okay,
No,
okay.
as
I'm
in
glad.
like cooking meth, maybe,
No.
but not, no, what is it? What? Uh,
So it's like let him do his thing or let her do her thing. So,
okay.
for example, it's oftentimes you'll see it
Like let it
whenever
simmer.
sort of like it's sort of like if they are doing something awesome, let them continue to do it rather than criticizing them.
Okay.
So like,
Okay.
for example, uh, we're not a political podcast, obviously, but Kamala Harris recently like
Uh-huh.
talking trash about her opponent, and somebody was like, "Ah, let my girl cook," as in let
Yeah.
her keeps talking on
Yeah.
this subject, and so
Keep
it's
her on the boiler.
yes,
Okay.
exactly, on a low simmer, you know. Um, so it's what I've been really enjoying, and I see it more and more these days. So yeah, cook, as in letting somebody just do their thing in a cool way. I also see it used for like guys hitting on girls and stuff like that. You know what I mean? As in let him do his thing.
Let them cook.
Hmm.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Right?
I can be hip to that.
That's a nice one, isn't it? It's fun.
Yeah. I will say people like this part of the
They
podcast.
do.
So yeah,
Friggin'
I'm gonna
nerds.
switch. I know, right? I'm gonna switch our current because this has I don't know if you got more of this for our next episode, but someone asked that they said ask Andy to share the sign someone posted that I sent him. I did not understand it at all. It had cap in it.
Oh yeah, so like I know who this was. She sent it to
Yes.
me, and okay, I will see if I can pull up this full
Okay.
sign here, and I will try and translate it as best I can.
Okay.
Okay, Beth, do you want to vamp for me
I
a wee
do.
second?
I do. So this is a mutual friend of ours that we met at yoga school. So I'm just going to say hi, Karen. We love you and
Yeah, we
thank you
do.
for listening. And she's also moving to London in 6 weeks.
Oh, I don't think I knew that. Like for
Yeah,
good?
for good. So you
Whoa.
probably will see her.
Okay,
And
cool.
she's
Yeah,
worried
I'm
about
just,
getting a job. So
uh, uh,
let her know dog walking is an option.
wow. It's a get rich slow scheme at
Right.
best. Um, okay. So this is the phrase, this is the sign that she sent. I'll just read it out. It says, dude, the sickest flex is showing respect, no cap. So I think most of that is self-explanatory, right? So the sickest is, the most awesome. Flex is showing off.
I
Um,
would like really say this in layman's
okay,
terms.
okay, let's break it down. So, dude, a cool man or woman. The sickest, it would be the best, the greatest. It's one of those ironic opposite things. Flex is if you're showing off. So the best sort of way to show off is to show respect. I think we understand show respect, right? Hey, everybody out there, show everybody, show real respect.
Let us cook.
Yeah, yeah, let's cook. All right, show people respect. The difficult one I think at the end is no cop, which you've talked about before, but I'll discuss it again. So if something is cop, it's a lie. If something is no cop, it's the truth. So saying no cop at the end of that statement is saying that that's the truth. So basically, it's saying showing respect is the coolest sort of way you can be, and that's the truth. Is that's well explained, right?
I'm giving you little golf claps for that.
Yeah. Right. So just tell me at home how excellent a job I did on a scale
I think
of.
this needs to be part of this segment is you like speaking it in white man's layman's terms.
Okay, all right, okay. Yeah, okay. That's good. It does work out well, doesn't it? Yeah. All right, I like it. Okay, so
At least
that's
I am highly entertained, so that's really what matters.
so yeah, exactly. That's what we're doing this for at the end of the day. Okay, that was another
Ah, mhm,
highly successful installment of Andy's Down with the Streets. I hope you enjoyed it. Um, I think unless we have any what's occurring, do you have any what's
mm-mm.
occurring?
That was my what's current.
That is actually something I was going to bring up too, so that's perfect. So that's both our
Okay.
what's
Okay,
occurring.
good.
We can move on with today's topic, which is about horror movies, and it's titled "The Horror, the Horror."
Which can you name that movie
Huh? What's it
that
from?
is from? Yes.
It's Donald Pleasance, isn't it?
Mm-mm.
Oh, then no.
Apocalypse
I
Now.
see. Okay, okay,
At
okay.
the very end, when like the major, who is Marlon Brando, who's like, I love this story about this movie because he got the part and then showed up like 350 pounds. And so they had to shroud him in darkness,
Oh,
which is why,
interesting.
like, yeah, but it totally works for the film. But at the end, like, that's when he's dying. Like, that's what he says is the horror, the horror.
I like how little of a shit Marlon Brando eventually gave about like acting, all these things. He was just like, whatever, fuck you guys.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, it's been so long since I've seen that film, so I don't know that I would have. I mean, but there's so many clips of it. Are you still
Colonel? I don't remember his rank.
Kurtz? Colonel Kurtz?
Colonel Kurtz, but I don't remember if he was a major or a colonel or what
Oh
his.
yeah, you're right. I'm sure we'll get
Sorry,
told. People will
everyone. But it
tell
was.
us
I
you're screaming
know.
at your
Yes.
podcast. Okay,
Sorry.
sorry. Um,
Yeah.
so we're
But
just going to talk about horror movies, what are, how we grew up with horror movies, our experience with them, our feelings on them. And, as always, we'd love to get thoughts and feedback from people on their thoughts on this too.
mhm, give us your thoughts,
Uh,
if they're good,
yes, please. Always thoughts,
if they're
reviews, if
noteworthy.
they're good, if they're not, stuff them wherever you feel is appropriate. So yeah,
Okay.
so I mean, do you want to talk a little bit about generally your feeling in horror and
Hmm.
maybe where you got started with it?
Yeah, that was my question for you was
Yeah,
like, do you love or hate it? I guess. And I love horror movies.
I think I was a hater for a long time, but I have started coming around to them more in the past 10, 15 years, maybe. But I think for a long time, and I will talk a little bit about the reason why. I really was not fussed on them for a long time. As we go on.
Yeah, I was introduced to horror movies probably fairly early on. It was more like you can't watch a rated R movie, but like PG-13 movies or PG movies, like some of them are just as scary to a
Yeah,
child, right?
yeah,
And they used to make movies have a certain rating so more people would watch them. So like
yeah,
a PG or PG-13 movie would actually like nowadays it would be R, but the way that the rating agencies work, like, you don't say you can't say this, but
yes,
you can't be nude, but you can be,
yeah.
whatever. There's rules.
You can shoot a guy in the head and it's a PG,
Yes.
but you
Yeah,
can't
exactly.
you can't show boobs. It's like God
Right.
forbid.
God forbid, right? So, like, watching like Rosemary's Baby was normal for me
Yeah,
as a child. An American Werewolf in London, like those kinds of things. I
yeah.
remember
Oh,
being sort of like, oh, well, like let's watch this again. And my dad being like, this is one of the ones, for your education. And like, oh, she's had the devil, and
yeah,
everybody was in on it. Like, right, like, so I guess I see the place that horror has both like for the pure entertainment value, but also the place that it has like in our cultural, lexicon, I
Yeah.
guess. So, like the horror, right? You didn't know
Uh,
what movie that was from, but you knew the quote.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think I'm now trying to think where I kind of know it from, and I'm pretty certain it's like sampled in like
techno song.
yeah, basically. Yeah. And I gotta see if I can dig that out and send it to you. But yeah.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, it's I mean like and it's so like for me, um I guess so what happened with me was I mean like I was always a fragile, scared sort of boy, I guess. Not much has changed. And I was, I found a lot of things scary. Like I remember being really scared of like some of the monsters in Ghostbusters, for example, seeing that when I
Mhm.
was young. So like, the
The lady at
specific,
the very beginning is still freaks me out.
yeah. And like also whenever like the character that Sigourney Weaver
Yeah.
turns into and the dogs and stuff like that really freaked
Cool.
me out. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was so scary. And I also remember other things like there was a monster in one of the Superman movies, so like Superman 3, I believe, the one with Richard Pryor in it, where the lady gets like all this like metal wrapped around her and becomes like half human, half robot. That creature freaked me out, still kind of stays with me. Um, so like I was always kind of hesitant to kind of approach horror in a sort of major way. And I didn't really. And then my first sort of proper exposure to it, and I think this is what put me off it for so long, was, and I did talk about the event here a little bit as well. So we had this thing in school. It's one of these things that is staggering that we were ever allowed to do it. So we had in school an RPG club, role-playing game club, and a kind of it was called a war games club. So it was both
What's a
role
PG club?
an RPG club, so role playing
RPG. Oh,
games.
okay. Sorry. Yep, yep, yep.
So it was both a club for playing role playing games, so things like Dungeons and Dragons. At the time, we were also playing like Star Wars role playing games and a variety of other bits and pieces. And also some of the folks were playing Warhammer, like uh, Games Workshop stuff. People
Mhm.
either know or not know what that is. Henry Cavill likes it. That's your touch point if you don't know.
Right.
um,
Also Superman, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Um, so at that, so we were essentially given free reign of the school for 24 hours, ostensibly for a charity things. We were raising money, but we were
They're
staying
like, we're
awake.
keeping these kids away
Yeah,
from alcohol.
yes. And it was fucking wild. Like it was just kind of us running about. People were like doing wrestling moves on each other. It was like there's two teachers there. God love them. Like I don't know how they
Uh-huh.
managed to keep us on track. And at that, despite it, being for kids from like what, 13, 14 up to like kids of about 16, 17, there was tons of people brought in horror movies. So there was Hellraiser was there, and Hellraiser, I saw Hellraiser that night and I really did not like it. It really upset me. That movie is fucked up in a very sort of specific way, I think. And I just really struggled with it. Especially like, the guy getting all his skin peeled off and all that sort of stuff. And bleh. So that really put me off horror movies for a long, long time. I also saw, I believe it was, no, it was a bad taste. One of the early Peter Jackson films, I always forget the actual name of it. And I find it really, and they were two kind of like opposite ends of a horror. I find it like really puerile and kind of dumb and really kind of thought if this is what horror has to offer me, which is stuff that actually genuinely upsets me, or this dumb trash, it's not a genre for me really. And I
Mhm.
think that stopped me from watching any horror for 15 years, maybe 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
So you were like in your mid 20s?
I definitely like, I mean, I would say,
That's so sweet.
I know. I would say, like, don't get me wrong. I definitely, maybe explored a few movies here and there of like, the sort of more worthwhile horror movies. So, like, The Exorcist, I think for me, The Thing
Yeah.
is a
Which one?
sensational.
Which version?
The the only version that's worth talking about, the John Carpenter one.
Yeah.
The
I own the DVD and we watch it.
it's a
Mike's
masterpiece.
like, are the kids ready for the thing? And I'm like, no.
It's such an incredible
No.
movie. Um,
That's like a once a year watch, at
yeah,
least.
it is.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
sensational. So like I did those things, bits and pieces of those, but it's just other stuff. So like, you're more sort of like your high profile horrors like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street,
Halloween.
Halloween. I've not seen any of those
Okay.
because I just wasn't interested in that really. Child's Play, I suppose, is another big one that I never really watched. So all these sort of big, like I haven't seen a single, what do you call the more recent ones, where people get like trapped? There's the crazy puppet thing in the tricycle,
Oh yeah, I
Saw
haven't
movies. I
watched
haven't seen any
those.
of those. You like so
No.
many of these like big ticket horror movie franchises. I have no connection to at all.
Yeah, I think I prefer um not the newer horror movies. They're all like I guess The Cabin in the Woods is maybe the last one that I was like, oh, this is good.
Yeah,
And every time M. Night Shyamalan comes out with something, I'm like, please be as good as The Sixth Sense.
yeah,
But it never is, right?
yeah.
Sorry, M. Night.
That's fair,
I know you're listening, but like, um,
of course.
I love like the movies from like like the 70s and 80s
Yeah,
when I think like the genre was still like really being developed and they weren't retelling the stories over and over and over kind
yeah,
of thing. Um, so yeah, I have like The Thing. I remember watching, I was probably 13 or 14 watching the movie Duel. Have you ever seen
yeah.
that?
I
It's
have.
Steven Spielberg's
Hmm.
first movie, and it's like this movie about a guy that's like driving in probably like Nevada, or, Southern California in the desert, and he's like being harassed and tracked by a guy in a semi truck,
Yeah,
and you can't see his face, and it's this whole like that's literally it. That's the movie, but it's
yeah.
terrifying.
It is.
And I don't know what it had to do with English class or literature, but we watched it, and that's why Barb Murray is my favorite English teacher ever.
That's yeah. That's. I mean, I suppose like it's good to get people educated, especially. And I always like. And it was one I tracked down just because I was like, well, Spielberg's clearly so important for everyone, I think, who
Mhm,
likes movies. So it was
mhm.
good to see where he kind of got started, really. Because I think he did Jewel and then like straight into Jaws, if
It
I'm
was
right.
something like maybe like two or three movies later.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, I mean, obviously, that's
Like,
a
is that a
horror movie.
horror? It's horror. It
So
is horror.
this is my question.
Yeah.
Like,
It's horror
what,
adjacent.
yeah, like what constitutes a horror movie for you?
I think something that genuinely unsettles me, and it's something as I was putting this together, I was thinking about some stuff that I love that I don't know if it's horror or not because certainly my relationship with Evil Dead, my
Mhm,
first Evil Dead movie was Army of Darkness, and which was like completely different to what went before it.
mhm.
And kind of going back to those films, at first I really didn't like them because it just wasn't what I was looking for, but I have come to appreciate them a lot more. Um, and they're a bit more like slocky and a bit more silly too. Like they're not as silly as Army of Darkness, but like certainly as that franchise went on, in terms of the original trilogy, it became less about horror and more about like comedy
Camp.
almost.
Yeah, yeah. Like, let's just be as gross as
Yeah.
possible for
And let's just do
funny.
some dumb shit. Yeah. And so like but I think it's stuff that unsettles me. I think and certainly my way back into horror has been through stuff that is um a bit different, just a kind of different sort of angle on horror. Like I like I think I find stuff that I don't expect scary. Do you know what I mean? So like if I think about
Same.
It Follows, for example, which is a recent
Mhm.
one that I loved, and the different visuals of the creature that we're following them. There is still a scene where they are in the girl's room, and the version of the creature is represented by a really tall man, and he just steps through the room, and he's really
Mhm.
tall, and that was just like, oh, and it was just so effectively done, you know. So yeah, it's very much the unexpected for me, I think. What about you?
Yeah, I would say like the unexpected, anything that makes you like jump,
Yeah,
when you're like, oh God, and you get that feeling, that rush of like adrenaline just from
yeah,
like watching something, which is such an interesting thing when you're not even experiencing it, but your body has a physical
yeah,
reaction to something. Um,
absolutely.
so like I was thinking, like, does murder count as horror? And then I was like, well, yeah, like Seven and The Silence of the Lambs
Yeah,
and The Silence of the Lambs 2. And wasn't there a third,
I don't
like
know.
Clarice or whatever? Anyways, uh, like those things I think count. I also, this is going to be a very unpopular thing.
Uh-huh.
Baby Reindeer, I think to me was horror
I still haven't watched it. I need
because
to get onto it.
I don't think you should. I watched it again and like it's just it rips my heart apart.
Okay.
And there's like periods where like I'm so uncomfortable that like I have like that uncomfortable like visceral reaction. And it's not horror, but it's like people treating each other not well.
Yes,
And
that's yeah. Like
so
initially perverse.
maybe I'm like a sensitive soul like you.
I think like initially perversely when you were talking about that, I was like, oh, uncomfortable. That sounds good to me. But whenever you got to the end there, I was like, yeah, maybe not. Actually, I just don't
Yeah.
like. I find that a bit tough going. It's you know, it's interesting because like I do love stuff. Within shows and dramas that I watch, stuff that really gets into the human condition. I think I've talked about this before.
Mhm.
And I think there are certainly some scary aspects to that. There certainly can be, and when they're well portrayed, you know, I think I really appreciate the complete picture of humans. So like, the good stuff and the horrifying aspect, But I think when I think about horror, I do have a mold for better or for worse that they kind of fit into. And I think that like certainly certain franchises or certain movies have jumped between different areas. Like I think the first Alien movie is definitely a horror. I
Mhm.
think the second movie is much more of an action movie. And then the ones after that, who knows?
Yeah.
But like I think there's something to be said about how, the flexibility of a concept or of an idea that can fit into those molds as well. Um, but yeah, it's an interesting area, I think, in terms of classifying it.
Would you watch a horror movie by yourself?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then what happens after?
Um, I'm not like I don't think I take it with me anymore. I think I used to. Like it depends. So it really depends on the movie. There's very few things that would properly unsettle me anymore. I think if I think about recent films that really kind of got under my skin, it's more about what they had to say about people. So like Hereditary, I found,
I was going to talk about that. Hereditary and Mother.
yeah, Mother's a wild one. Mother is just nuts, though. I don't
Yeah.
know what
Yeah.
Mother
It's
is.
kind of, yeah. I kind of gave up like partway through, like thinking at all. And I was just like, all right, I'm
I,
not going to understand this. So, like, I'm not even going to try.
I,
But Hereditary freaked me
yeah,
out.
it's properly unsettling. And in terms of recent things that I saw, it was one that I struggled with. And I think I just needed to take some time away. And like it was one I watched on a plane, so then I just finished
And
that
you're
off by
just, yeah,
watching
you're like,
something
I'm going
stupid afterwards,
to, right?
to reset myself.
A romantic comedy.
Yeah, yeah, no, probably just it's something dumber, a Marvel movie. Uh, so like I think that's what I do. Probably in those circumstances, I do a reset. I maybe go for a walk, just purge it. Like the other recent one that really kind of stayed with me was the Babadook because of what it's
I tried
about.
to watch The Babadook and I could not get into it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. It's hard going. It's I
Okay.
but I think it's a good film and I think the core message is very interesting, but it's a tough watch.
Yeah, it's interesting, like Mike is really scared of horror movies.
Hmm.
Like he hates it. Like I do the like sweaty palm test. So we'll
Hmm.
be watching something and if I like reach over and I'll just like slide my hand on his hand and if it's sweaty, then I know he's terrified, which is like 90% of the time. So it's not like he doesn't like watching scary things at all. So if I do watch scary things, it's usually when I'm by myself. Um, and then if I'm by myself, it's usually like he's out of town. And then I'm like, I'm sleeping with one of my children tonight because I don't want to be in bed by myself.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that like certain what was the one that I watched recently? It was on Netflix. It was basically there was this hand that you could shake the hand and you could like speak to somebody. Does that sound familiar to you at
I haven't
all?
seen it. No.
Um, and
What
I
a trippy concept.
yeah, it's kind of wild. It was okay. It was a decent enough movie. I don't think it really kind of delivered on its kind of promise in a major way, but the whole idea was that you shook this kind of zombified hand and you were possessed by a ghost for a while, but then like basically one of the main characters, like younger brothers, does it, and he like starts smashing his head against the wall and all this sort of stuff, and it just kind of goes uh, yeah
Uh,
into a bad place. But it's I think it had some effective stuff. You know, things in movies where it's like there's a dark, there's an area of darkness and then just something comes out of the darkness. Those things I've struggled with whenever I've been in the house by myself. And I'm
yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
all the lights on before I go to bed, da, 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 da,
Yep.
da, and
Yep.
then yeah,
Like check all the rooms,
yeah,
check the locks again. Yeah, I think like I was trying to figure out like what are the things about horror movies that actually scare me? Kind of like that. Like what are the visual or like for me, really, it's I find it sound. So if I turn like if I'm
yeah,
really freaked out, I'll mute it and then it's funny and then I start thinking like this is my trick for my own brain where I'm like, okay, it's muted and then I start thinking about how they're shooting it and like when they take breaks and someone's probably wanting coffee and someone else is hungover and like I wonder how many takes they're doing and then I think about like the private jokes that they have in order to like have some levity while they're filming it. Like that's where I go in my brain. So I
yeah, I
just
like
picture
that.
them actually filming it
Yeah,
instead of it being a real thing and I make it not real.
yes, I like that. It's a good way to combat it.
Uh,
I think so. It's just because like I think I said like my relationship with horror movies has been so patchy over the years. I just haven't had to think about. I just don't put myself in that place too often, so it's not really been. And like one of the other things I was thinking about the movie, by the way, that I was talking about was called Talk to Me, the one where the movie where they shook the hand and got possessed.
writing all these
Uh,
down.
um, it's an interesting idea. It's definitely worth a watch, but I just wasn't blown away by it. Um,
Okay.
but I was, something that I also was thinking about where it was like zombie movies, which is like,
Hmm.
did they count? Are they? I mean, they're certainly
Yeah.
horror adjacent.
It's like I feel like zombies are their own genre.
Yeah, it's true.
It's totally adjacent, but like our obsession with this idea of like people being risen from the dead and then like eating other people and then them turning into zombies too. Like that's so it's enough where it's like it's its own genre.
Yeah, it's true. I think don't they say that like it's kind of it's all about kind of viruses really more than anything and plagues and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Is the
Yeah.
root of those
Yeah.
sorts of things? Yeah.
Like would you like lump that in with like Contagion? Like if you watch World War Z and then like them
Yeah.
breaching the wall, right? That was terrifying though.
It's true. It's true.
So
Yeah.
I guess if you're talking about like reaction, like physical reaction of like, oh, that feeling, like, yeah, it does count as horror. But I think that
I
kind of like Evil Dead is kind of its own genre.
Yes, it's true. It very much is. Like, yeah. I think when I think about certain aspects, again, it's the humanity side of it that is always gives me those scares because I think about 24 hours later. Is that right? Yeah.
28 days later.
28 was the first one 28 days later, isn't it? Yes, yes, it is 28 days later. What am I saying? And um one of the characters
That one,
basically looking
yeah.
up and getting a drop of blood in their eye and
That
just
was just gonna talk about that.
yeah.
And you liked him. He was so
He
lovable. He was such a
was.
good dad. And you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, and you're rooting for him. And then it's like they're there and you know they're gonna be okay. And then he looks up and like he gets the zombie blood drop from the stupid crow in his eye. And you're like,
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah,
And
it's
like he
heartbreaking.
immediately starts reacting, and the daughter's there, and it's just like, oh, I cried. Like I'm sad thinking about it.
I think that that is one of the things that I find I struggle a little bit, and I like things that break those tropes. Do you know what I mean? There is always
Mm,
kind of whenever a character turns up, they're maybe not completely pure, but they're mostly a good guy. They have a family that loves them. They're something horrible is going to happen to them. I mean, it's not horror
yeah.
film in like a Roadhouse that I watched recently. When Sam Elliott turns up, you're like, oh man, and he's like so nice to the lady that Patrick Swayze's dating, and I'm like, oh no,
Yeah. It's like a
no
river runs through it,
spoilers.
and you're like, Brad Pitt's gonna die. Brad Pitt's gonna die. When's
Yeah,
he gonna die? Yep. Sorry, everyone. That happened
sorry,
too.
spoilers for those
Yeah.
movies.
For all those people that are rushing out to watch a river runs through
Right.
it.
I can imagine you can't wait to watch a river run through it. But yeah, I like so it's just it is definitely it definitely the humanity aspect of horror that really gets to me. And going back to the thing, that's so interesting because it is very much becoming humans. The creature in that movie is changing into other humans, and like how well it manifests as them is very unsettling to me.
Mhm. What was the one that came out where it's like they would look you in the eye and then you would turn into a zombie?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, I gotta find it. It was terrifying. And so
Was it
everyone
recent?
like yeah, and everyone had like paper over their windows. You couldn't see outside. And it was like as soon as they made eye contact, like it was the whole thing. It was
Interesting.
terrifying.
Yeah.
That was a horrible. I'm like, this movie, don't know what it's called, and here's kind of what it's about. So, would you spend the night in a forest alone?
Um, yeah. I, especially because like the forests here are pretty non-scary, right?
That's true. They're like,
Um, I,
you can see from one end to the other.
yeah. Apart from the banshees,
Right.
uh, yeah, they're
Do you
where
have moors?
not really, kind of,
That's
I
more of like a
guess.
British thing.
That is more of a British thing. I think in
Okay.
Wales and England
Mm.
we don't really. And there's certain areas, and I like it's so small here generally that you're never that far from civilization really. Like I definitely think the scope of America is scarier in that regard. I mean, you can be properly
Mm.
isolated in a way that is hard for us to kind of get our heads around. So I
There's
would do
also
it.
weirdos.
Yes, this is also true. And I think that's scarier more than anything. Um, and I would, but I wouldn't. I mean, for a start, I don't really like sleeping in a tent anyway, or even so like I don't think I would. It wouldn't be my choice, but if I had to, I would be okay with it. I could sleep, I think, probably poorly, but I would sleep.
I
What
would
about
not.
you?
I would
No.
not. There, and I like, I know maybe it's because I'm a woman.
Yeah, it's different.
Um, but and I know other women that go camping by themselves, and I'm like, I would never do that. You're just asking to be murdered,
Yeah.
or
But
you're asking for like some monster to come and attack you in the middle of the night.
hmm
Like I read Christopher Pike books as a middle schooler. I know this.
Uh, it's what
Sorry, the dog is barking.
it's one of the things, the reasons why I keep meaning to watch. Is it the Reese Witherspoon one, Into the Wild? Is that it?
Yeah,
Where she's like hiking basically
yeah.
by
It's
herself.
a it's based on the Cheryl Strayed book,
Hmm.
and her mom dies, and then she develops like a drug addiction. She's actually from Portland, and
Okay.
so um I was at a reading that she gave once. She's a very nice lady. And she actually I don't think she does anymore, but she used to write the Dear Sugar column.
Oh,
She was
yeah. Hmm.
Sugar. Um, but so like to combat like drug addiction and grief, she's like, I'm gonna go hike the Pacific Crest Trail, which is like this really long, um, I think it's like I don't even like 3 month hike
Okay.
that you do from like Mexico all the way up to it ends at the Bridge of the Gods on the Columbia River,
Yeah.
which we were right by there when I took you
Yeah.
up in the gorge. Um, but yeah, she's like hiking and like all these like creepy things happen to
I was
her. And
gonna
there's one
say,
time, yeah, it's
yeah.
like
I'm
freaky.
sadly, yeah. I'm not surprised that some of those things happen. It's
And
such a
she
shame.
loses her one of her boots, which to me is
Shit.
horror.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that is her.
yeah. Like falls down the canyon, there's like no hope to get it back kind of thing. And you're just like duct tape your foot. I can't even. Dandy's like, no.
Fair play to her. Yeah.
Especially after like your marathon hike
Yeah, no thanks.
that lasted a day.
I mean, I've learned my lesson ish. Talk to me again in a month.
So, so I guess within horror,
Hmm.
what would you say is your favorite genre?
I guess probably more like monsters, so things like Alien, I guess would qualify for that thing. I would guess would qualify for that. I those are my probably stuff that falls under the more sort of genre stuff, like, almost like sci-fi, I guess, in some
Mhm.
ways, but I've always had and I've always liked those conceptually. That would be my favorite.
Yeah. I think for me, it's not so much a genre as I love a twist at the end
Yeah,
and a good one that I can't predict. Because, like, usually there's a formula and you're
yeah,
like, all right, I mean, you know, she's a virgin, she's gonna die. Like,
yeah,
oh, he's a nice person, he's gonna die. So it's when I can't predict what's gonna happen, and then at the end, there's like something that happens, and then you're like, oh my God, like everything I thought I knew, I don't know.
yeah.
There's, I would say one of the scariest, or like someone that's trying to figure something out, like there's a
I
murder and they're trying to
wonder. I'm
figure it out.
I, I'm thinking of something. Okay, what are you gonna
Okay.
say?
Well, there's this movie, and it's not the Angelina Jolie one.
Hmm.
It's the Sir something something
Hmm.
one, called The Changeling.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
And it's like about this man that moves into this house and there's a ghost, and it's a ghost of a child, and it's like trying to communicate with him. But there's this scene where um like there's a child's ball, and the ball comes bouncing down the stairs, and there's no one in the house but him, and it's just like so fucking freaky. And then like it freaks him out. He's like, fuck this shit, right? So he takes the ball and he like takes a long walk and he throws it in the river, and then he comes home and shuts the door, and a wet ball comes bouncing down the
Oh
stairs. And it was
no.
like, for me, I was like, oh my God, like so fucking scary. And then but like he like is going through and he's finding out like, oh, it's actually like the person that lived here's son who's still alive is like not the actual child. Um, the child that was the actual child was murdered because he had a deformity, and the father was like a powerful
Jeez.
man, and he didn't want this like deformed child, to be sickly, and taking the reins of his important business or something. So it's like those are the ones where I'm like, you know, it's terrifying, and there's humanity, and there's
Yeah.
redemption at the end.
Yeah. I think, yeah, definitely effective the ones where it's like, the real monster, humanity. As
Yeah,
always,
yeah,
yeah.
yes,
Uh,
yeah.
the one I was thinking about was just in terms of you talking about things with twists. I mean, like it is almost a cliche. This film, I'm not going to spoil it, but Jacob's Ladder is. Have you seen Jacob's Ladder?
No, I've
So
heard of it like a bunch.
it is. It's a famous one. So it's. Oh no, I've forgotten his
Is it a
name.
good twist?
It is. If you don't know, it's a pretty like. Yeah, I mean Tim Robbins. That's who I was looking for. It is. It's unlike anything else I have seen. I only
Okay.
got around to watching it
I'm
about
circling this on my piece of
yeah.
paper.
Um it's yeah, it's like nothing else I've seen. It's pretty full on. Yeah. But
Okay.
it's a good movie, I think. It's not an amazing movie, but it's a pretty good movie. It's definitely worth checking out. Um it's also occurred to me the kind of horror movies that I don't like at all, which is body horror stuff. So
Okay, okay. So yeah, I was like, what are the worst ones that you're like not a fan of?
I really have never like it's particularly like, you know, Cronenberg um movie stuff like body horror stuff in particular I find really tough.
Rob Zombie.
Yes. The no, I've only seen bits of some of his movies and just like these are not for me. But like I remember there's like a there was some like Japanese films as well, horror films that were tattoo body hammer is this guy that tries to modify himself by like putting metal inside his body and it starts infecting him and it's like
Say the name again.
it's tattoo body hammer I think is the movie.
No.
there
Yeah,
was
I
there
know.
has been
Doesn't he have like a giant
tattoo of the
like
Iron Man.
yeah, so I remember watching that in high school. And doesn't he have like a penis that's a drill and like he has sex with a lady and like
Yeah,
blah, like literally drills her. I remember watching that in high school and like all my dude friends were like, "Oh, let's watch to the Iron Man again."
yeah,
I'd be like, And he was like in the mirror and like
yeah,
looking at his skin and it's metal underneath. I
yeah.
totally,
Hate that
totally have
stuff.
seen that. Ugh, hate it. Would never watch it again.
Hmm. So that's the
I
sort of
remember
stuff that I
that.
really struggle with, truly. Oh, that's
Yeah.
gross.
Ugh.
But I like I find I know some people really like. I think some people like that the kind of buttons that pushes in other people more than like that sort of
Yeah.
style of movie. Maybe that's just how I look at it.
Yeah.
But I find those very difficult to
Yeah, for me
watch.
it's like torture and mutilation.
Yes.
Like Reservoir Dogs isn't horror, but like I just can't. Like I watched it once and I was like, yeah, I can't watch that again. Misery,
Yeah. Oh, Misery's
where,
brutal. Yeah.
well, in the book, she was supposed to cut his feet off. She does cut his feet off. In the movie, she hobbles him
Yeah. She chars his ankles. Yeah.
with by putting like a piece of wood in between his
Yeah.
ankles and then like hitting his ankles with a sledgehammer. That to me was like that's like
Yeah. I
like
hear
horf. I can't even. I'm gonna go like vomit in my snot chair, but
you.
can't, can't, can't.
No.
And like I read something the other day actually about how they filmed that, and it's like they're fake feet, right?
Yeah.
But still like I remember reading how like affected Kathy Bates was by filming it. Like after she was done with the scene, she went and like puked in the bathroom because it was just
Oh,
like so horrible for her. And then she got an Oscar and it was all good.
works out.
It all works
Uh,
out.
I'm thinking about, because like just as we've been talking about this, other things have been occurring to me. Like I've been
Mhm.
thinking about the like found footage genre and stuff like that, which I have not only like dabbled in, and there was one
Like found
called
footage like Blair Witch.
yes,
Uh-huh.
but
Like
there's like
documentary style.
there's one that I watched, a Japanese one called Norai, The Curse,
Mm.
and it is I thought was sensational. Like it was the best of those sorts of things that I have seen because essentially what it is like basically the concept is that it's a load of stuff has been cobbled together around this myth of this curse in this Japanese town, this Japanese village. So like there's like both footage of this guy who's researching it, but also like a like a Japanese game show where these two wacky characters go and like do various things, and they go to the village and investigate this, and like so it's like it's just so tonally all over the place, but I find
Hmm.
it more effective, the most effective kind of found footage horror movie I've ever seen.
Hmm.
I really like that a lot. It's
Yeah, I
unsettling even thinking about it.
totally. I have a hard time with it, kind of makes me like car sick,
Mhm.
where it's like the camera that's like
Yes.
being, you know, jumbled around and like bumped and they're running and it's like, okay, like can you just I just want to, yeah, I get annoyed, I think,
I
and I
understand.
don't want to feel, yeah.
I think it is one of the
I
better
get
ones.
it. Yeah, I get it.
If
But it's
you're
still,
curious about it, I've seen a few, and it's the one that really worked for me. I just think because the nature of a lot of the footage is like supposed to be a proper documentarian or clips from a TV show, so it's like better put together. Do you know what I mean? Than a
mhm,
lot of those others. But I totally understand where you're coming from.
mhm.
Um, I think, well, I mean, like I'm looking at time, thinking maybe we'd start wrapping up. So I guess the one question I had for you before we wrap up
Yeah.
is, do you feel like movies are the most effective medium for horror? Or like, do you find, horror as good as a book, as good as, I suppose books, though, the only other major way. Comics,
I
I
wrote
guess, as
down
well.
things that are horror that are not related to movies.
Hmm.
Taxes. Running out of peanut butter or running out of ketchup.
Yeah,
That's horror for
that
me.
is
Like running
horror.
out of ketchup
A
specifically.
nightmare.
I
Yeah,
can't.
ketchup's,
I
oh,
can't. I can't. This
I
is,
hear
I
you.
guess I'm raising my little tiny American flag. And then I have a story
Hmm.
that my dad told me.
Okay.
And stop me if I've already told you this, but
Hmm.
did I tell you about him like swimming in the lake with his friends
I don't think
and seeing
so.
the hand?
No.
Okay. So this is a true story. So
Okay.
he's like hanging out in, I think, either New Jersey or upstate New York in the summer. He was probably like, I don't know, 10, 11, and he was playing Marco Polo with his friends, except for like you would have to catch the other person under the water.
Yep.
So you'd come up and try and hear and then go back under and try and find him. And it was like super murky water. And he was like swimming around and swimming around. And like, in those days, everyone opened their eyes underwater and didn't wear goggles.
Yeah, of course.
But he was like swimming and swimming and like came up and like his friends are like way, way far away. And he went back down and this hand, he's swimming and sees this hand coming for him and like almost grabs his face. And he like comes up because he thinks his friend is there. And he's like, oh my God, who was that? And there's nobody there. And all of his friends are still like way, way out there. And he counts them all and they're all way out there.
Whoa.
And he's like, I don't know who it was, but there was a goddamn hand there. And like, and I can't explain it. And I was just like, that to me is like that that's when I'm like, oh, horror really exists,
Yeah.
right? In the unexplained experiences that we have, and like the way he would tell the story way better than me because he was a natural, whereas I'm
Yeah.
a
No, it's still
pretender.
chilling.
But yeah, it freaks me out.
Ooh, that's a good way. I
I'll
like
leave
that.
that with you. Yeah, I
Yeah, I like
know.
that. I think unless we have anything else, that's a good way to wrap things up.
Yeah,
Um,
you're welcome,
but
everyone.
yeah,
True
you are welcome.
story.
Yeah, sleep well, everyone.
Sleep well. In
So
our
yeah,
best Bella Lugosi laughs.
yeah. So yeah, tell us, your thoughts on horror, and we'd
He
be
didn't
would
say horror, he said horror.
horror. Uh, any thoughts you have would be great, much welcome. But yeah, as usual. And then it's time to get to our favorite section, which is what's been bringing you joy this
Joy.
week. Joy,
Okay,
joy, joy, joy down in my
down
heart.
in my heart. Where?
Yeah.
I have two that are kind of
Uh-huh.
related, kind of not. I'm watching Sunny on Apple
Oh
TV.
yeah. Uh-huh.
I
How is it?
love it.
Okay.
I love it. I love
Okay.
so it's Rashida
Yeah,
Jones,
she
who
rocks.
is Quincy Jones's daughter.
Hmm.
and she plays this character really well. There's like a robot and the Yakuza are involved, and that's all I'm gonna say. And I
Yeah.
apologize if I pronounce it incorrectly, but it's really good. And I'm annoyed now because I'm caught up and I gotta wait a week.
Okay. Yeah,
I
I
hate
saw it
it.
was releasing weekly, and I was curious about it, so I might hold off. Like I'm still close
You're
to
gonna
finishing Dark Matter.
they're 30 minutes. Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So I'm gonna
Where
finish that
okay.
off first. I've literally got one more episode to go. I may watch it tonight. Well, I'll
Are you
watch it before.
confused?
No, I really like
Okay.
it because I
Do you understand? So have all the other dudes
uh,
showed up
yes,
and you understand that?
yes. So
Okay, I
like
did not. I was just like, I don't get it.
but like it is. I think what I really liked about it was that I like how because like okay, Beth, as we've realized, I have read some quantum physics books. I'm really smart, so it's no problem. No, but like I really like how it handles some of those concepts. I like how it talks about. I like how he gets around the problem of navigating superposition. I thought it was quite a cool fix. I'm not going to talk about this show too with spoilers. So like I really like that what it's dealing with, and I quite like him as an actor as well. So
I
I'm
do
I'm
too.
I'm really digging it. Also, Jennifer Connelly as well. So yeah, I'm excited
Most
to see
beautiful
where
human.
she is, and like
Yeah.
ageless. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Ageless
Yes.
beauty.
Yes.
Um. So yeah, I'm really digging it. But sorry, did you have another Joy?
I do. So I really like I forget how much. Do you remember the preview channel or this? Do you remember pop-up videos? No.
That sounds familiar.
Okay.
Like MTV would have had them, I think,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yes.
It was like MTV or like VH1 or what. So
Yeah.
they would like have a video, but they would like show you like all the facts and
Yeah.
like random facts, and it was very enjoyable. And like if anyone is listening, please bring back pop-up video. But another show that was around the same time was the preview show. And it was
Okay.
that's all it was. It was like 30 minutes of upcoming
Okay.
movies and
Mm-hmm.
previews. And like we've been going to the movies maybe once a month or twice a month. That's a lot for us. But it's like my favorite thing is to get there early enough now to see the commercials
Nice.
because they do that now. It drives me crazy. But also
Yeah.
like I love previews. So I just right before I hopped on with you, I saw the preview for Complete Unknown.
Uh-huh.
It's Timothy Chalamet's
Oh, Bob Dylan
biography.
thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
about Bob Dylan. And I was like, I saw some like stills of them filming, and I was like, there's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way. And then the preview changed my mind.
Okay. I've heard.
Eh,
Yeah. I I think he's got talent, that guy. That
I
kid, he's
know.
gonna go places.
I know. You
So
think?
I think he might.
You've heard it here,
Yeah, I
folks.
know. Like I'm going out on a limb. I think Timothy Chalamet is going to be kind of a big deal. Um, yeah, I'm definitely. I think we had equivalent shows like that in the UK, certainly when I was younger, but not so much these days. But yeah, I definitely, I these days when I go down to the movies, I try to like get in there, so I'm like after the ads, but just in time for the trailers.
Right,
That's the sweet
right.
spot.
Well,
Um,
you're like right there too.
yeah,
So
exactly. It's
I
great.
know.
It's like 2 minutes away.
Yeah.
Um, the thing that's been bringing me joy over the past week is that I have been reading some comics. So one of my favorite sort of comic book authors is a guy called Ed Brubaker. I think he wrote my all-time favorite comic, and I think basically all of his stuff has been good in my opinion. I think most other kind of comic fans would agree, but his recent comic series is called Reckless, and it was essentially his like he talks about whenever he was growing up, his dad had a lot of like different books on his shelves. So he would like read, he would have like really kind of more pulpy stuff, and he would have more, academic sort of, highbrow sort of books. He didn't like differentiate. He just enjoyed reading.
Hmm.
So this was his kind of love letters of those kind of pulpy books, these kind of like lone badasses who kind of like, sort out problems. And the setup essentially is that this guy was an FBI agent, deep cover, got blown up by a bomb, left didn't injure him, but that allowed him to leave the FBI, and then he became like a sort of freelance problem solver. He just essentially has a phone line, and people can call up with problems, and he can decide whether he's going to help them. And it's just great. It's just exactly that. It really leans into the kind of really silly, sort of pulpy tropes that kind of goes along with, and he gets into these really kind of noiry kind of stories, and it's really great. So I've been
That's
thoroughly enjoying
awesome.
that.
Are you reading, can I just ask, is it a paper book or is it a Kindle book?
It's a paper book it's a comics. It's a comic.
Okay,
So
that's
with
good.
comics, I sometimes read them digitally, but I much prefer buying my comics if I can. So especially in hardcovers as well, because they look nicer on
Yeah,
the shelf.
they sure do.
So yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, so
very
that's what I've been
good.
enjoying. That's
Very
been
good.
bringing me joy. Okay.
Yay.
So folks, okay, so before we wrap things up, Beth, would you like to tell everyone where they can find us and stuff?
Yes, find us at bendypodcast.com.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'll basically, if I program everything correctly, because that did not happen this week and I was a day late in getting everything up. So I apologize, everyone. We should be on all of the different apps and our RSS feed goes everywhere. So just find us on not YouTube right now because there's a glitch. And maybe
Okay.
it's because of Microsoft, but I'm rambling.
Yeah, it must be everywhere.
Bendypodcast.com is the best place. And I'm blaming Microsoft for all of our current technical issues.
Very reasonable. Microsoft,
uh,
you fiends.
I know.
Great. Okay, and in that case, we're oh,
We need
all right.
snacks.
I know we do need snacks and a pee. Okay, that's too many details for you. All right. Okay, in that case, we'd like to remind you all to stay
Stay
bendy.
Bendy. My
We just
register is lower today.
hey, yeah, it's show off. Right. Okay. Fine.
Haha.
Bye. We love you. Bye.
Bye. We love you. Bye, bye, bye. Okay.
Nice.
Nice. So this is episode 44.
Yes.
All right.